Backus Community Center, International Falls, Minnesota. Home of concerts, arts events, the Northland Art Society, lunch for the Catholic school across the street, and all kinds of events in this small Northland community, including the new home of a studio for a group which is dedicated to bringing the Northland's stories to the world. I'm talking, of course, about the Icebox Radio Theater. Let's take a look at their new digs together, okay? Come on. Okay, here we are, obviously down in the basement of Backus Community Center, the former middle school that's about 70 years old. They don't build them like that anymore, so it was the absolutely perfect place for us to set up a studio. Here is the Icebox Radio Theater in room B6, which is now Studio B6. Formerly, as you can tell, a health room where hygiene and sex ed were taught. We'll find out how well in just a little bit. But this is the outer door of our facility. And just wanted to bring up the on-air sign, which was a gift to the theater from our president, Harley Droba. Thank you very much, Harley. It does function, it does work. As you can probably kind of hear, there's a lot that goes on in this building, so we really need a way to let people on the outside know, don't come in right now. We're not recording at the moment, but we just had this on for show. Come on, we'll go inside here. So the first thing people see when they come into the Icebox Radio Theater is a little bit of history. This is actually the first flyer we ever put up. It was for an information meeting in 2004, and I'd never met any of these people, but 35 people who never heard of audio theater showed up with an interest in participating, and that's how we knew we had something. Some other interesting bits. This is a letter of support from the mayor of International Falls, Sean Mason. Thank you so much, Sean. Of course, our patron saint, Orson Welles. And this is actually the first promotional flyer we ever put up. That's the second play we did, Lifeboat, back in 2004. We didn't put up a flyer for the first one. Moving on to the organizational area here. First of all, these are, of course, bulletin boards that help me stay organized somewhat, a call board. Next show is February 15th, the week of February 15th. This week, we'll be recording Meltdown, hopefully. And on the other side of the hallway, flyers from previous productions. We've done quite a few live shows here in International Falls, and like any other community theater event, we want to put up some publicity. Kind of an interesting thing to note, this one right here is, of course, Halloween 2006, and that is the first show we ever did in this building. We did it in another room. It's called a little nightclub type place called The Dungeon, run by John Faith. Thank you very much, John. Moving on. Now this next room is something I really was excited about when we moved in. This room originally was about 100 feet long, 25 feet wide, a long skinny rectangle. And so I knew I wanted to divide it up into pieces, and one of those pieces I felt should be a green room, a place where actors and performers can relax between takes, and this just came together beautifully. All the furniture you see is either donated or scrounged from the building, and it's really grown into a place where not only actors can relax between takes, but all of our board meetings take place here. We have had rehearsals here, just stretched out on the couch, and it's become a very comfortable place, nice place to relax on a cozy winter's day. Some of the decorations wanted to bring up, of course, our somewhat thinly spaced broadcast map. These are stations all over the United States and Canada that have broadcast Icebox Radio Theater plays. Still pretty thin, we're working on that. And we're getting ready now to move into the real nerve center of the studio. When we moved in, initially I didn't really have any decorations planned. You listen to that, that's our biggest shortcoming of this particular facility. If you can tell, Rich, I'll go ahead and get a shot of the ceiling just so they see it. Basically every electrical and plumbing pipe in the building runs through here, which is why we do a lot of our recording at night when there's nobody else in the building. But a small price to pay. Anyway, pictures from Google Images, Old Time Radio, just reminding folks that are working for the Icebox Radio Theater, they're part of a great tradition. And the last picture they see before they go into the studio, cast of the Jack Benny Show from 1947. This was the show, I think the actors working on this show back in the 40s in the Golden Age had more fun than anybody else. Okay, that's why I wanted them to see that right before they go. First of all, let me apologize for the housekeeping. We're not very good at it, but this is main control. Got a sound effects recording, or sound effects playback computer, recording computer, as well as stereo for playback and all that good stuff. Our mixing board. We're endeavoring actually to replace the mixing board right now, as well as the recording computer, because they're a little bit out of date and maybe not best suited for this particular kind of work. This piece of equipment actually is like the first thing the IBRT ever bought back in 2005, and it served us very well, but it's not quite a good fit for this particular job, so we're endeavoring to replace that. Let us know if you'd like to donate. Moving over here into main actor's studio, and this is an interesting place. When we moved in, we got some grant funding to pay rent and talent fees for our efforts here at the Icebox Radio Theater. Everything else had to be either donated or scrounged or bought on the cheap, as you can clearly tell by the efforts in putting up this studio. The ceiling, yeah, those are tarps. They're kind of knit together. They're puffy because there's all kinds of junk. There's all kinds of foam and cardboard aid crates up above them just to move them down. And we refer to this, of course, as the Steve Sinclair Memorial Ceiling. And Steve Sinclair was a good friend of ours. He was an actor, appeared in Buzz and The Christmas Room. And about 2 years ago, Steve was having heart surgery in Winnipeg and died on the table. And then the doctors revived him, and he's walking around now. But he did die, and he always tells us that story, so we made this the Steve Sinclair Memorial Ceiling, because it was his idea to do the strings back and forth. Thank you very much, Steve. Many happy returns of your birthday, which was my big thing. I wanted this space to be comfortable for one person to record in or 6 people to record in. The setup you're looking at was from Scoop Sisters record last week. We had 5 people here, and everyone kind of had their own corner, their own space, and I thought it worked fairly well. Another thing I'd strongly recommend, AV cart, for those of you looking to start your own studio. We got this at the school district garage sale here in International Falls for $5. There's nothing wrong with it that I can tell. The wheels all work and the outlets work and everything. And it's marvelous because all of our microphones, all of our mic cables, all the stuff we need that's mic related is basically on this thing. And if we have to move it around within this room to accommodate everyone, everything's very centrally located. Okay. The last part of our tour ends up in sound effects. The idea, of course, eventually is we're hoping that sound effects, dialogue, and control could all once be working at one time, and we could start doing live broadcasts from this facility. Most of what you see here was done by our sound effects director, Dave Irwin, who did a lot of the setting up and building a lot of the sound effects equipment, actually. We've done a lot of live shows over the years. And when you do live shows, you got to have live sound effects. That's why the people pay their ticket money to come see. So we've had, for example, let's get on the thunder sheet, Rachel. Little thunder and lightning. Cheap sync, absolutely vital. These are about $30–40. They're great. You can do all kinds of water effects there. Other storage that Dave has just started. I see a day when these shelves go all the way around the corner, because there's no end to the stuff that you need to do sound effects in live radio. A couple of the pieces of equipment we're really proud of. There's not a lot of records, photographic records of old-time radio and how stuff was done. So we built these 2 items just actually on drawings on websites of old radio sound effects. This is called a squeak box. Classic design, the wooden rods, the old clothesline, cotton clothesline. You can use that for rocking chairs, you can use that for ships at sea. And this was actually the first sound effect ever built for the theater by a good friend named Paul Rancourt. I gave him a tiny little drawing of a wind machine that they used at CBS, and he came up with... You recognize that sound? That's Superman flying by. That's the exact same wind machine sound that they've used for years and years, and we've always had it here at the Icebox Radio Theater. Well, that's the end of our particular little tour. Very proud of this facility. I want to thank Backus Community Center for all their tolerance and their help in getting us moved in. And I want to thank you very much for watching this little video on YouTube. Once again, our website is iceboxradio.org. If you'd like to find out more about the Icebox Radio Theater, we invite you to go there. And do not forget that the podcast comes up every other week, all year long. And check us out at libsyn.com/icebox. All the information is just at the website. It's Jeff Adams. I'm Artistic Director of the IBRT. Thanks for your time.